after the win the other night, and with the Miami Heat dropping another game, I don't know, Eric, if you saw the whole Miami Heat spat they had in the sidelines between Butler and Spoelstra, but they've now lost their lead. They had a 3-game lead. Now it's a 1.5-game lead in the East. We're third place behind Milwaukee right now. Miami still holds the 1 seed, but with 10 games remaining, with the current 5 seed is Chicago, the current 6 seed is Cleveland, the current 7 seed is Toronto, and the current 8 seed is Brooklyn. If you could choose your first round opponent as of for right now, who would it be?
Whew. If I could choose,
You could choose, yeah.
If I had to choose, I would probably say the Cavaliers because of Allen being injured, and just like they're playing well, they play hard, but they have a lot of inexperience especially as far as the playoffs. So just from that standpoint, just from the inexperience from their key players, injuries, I would, if I had to choose, even though I don't really like choosing a team because I think that's kind of, you can get yourself in trouble. But yeah, I would go from that standpoint because of the inexperience and then the injury to a big guy that they would need the extra body to deal with Joel.
Yeah, I think same thing. It is tough, but I like to see where all the teams are before making that decision. But I'd say Cleveland, or it was like close for me, Cleveland or Chicago, just because we've owned both of them this year. I think we're 7-0 against them. I think Chicago looks a little out of gas because you have the players that aren't injured compensating for the guys who are injured, and DeRozan's just played out of his mind all year.
The reason why I didn't pick Chicago because I do feel that they have
more star power.
They have guys that can win the series.
Yeah. They have a guy who can go off and win it by themselves, I think.
And has the experience where I think a guy in Cleveland like Garland, a young guard that can get hot and win you some games, sort of like, Trae Young did for the Hawks last year. I think that he could go off like that, but I think that, the Bulls have someone that's proven, that's already done something like that.
Yeah.
That's where, you got to be careful what you ask for.
100%. Yeah. And then I looked up Allen. They say they hope to have him back by the start of the playoffs, but even if they do, just getting back, he's going to need some conditioning and you get, his feet under him again. But yeah, I'd say Cleveland because of the playoff experience. I think the only guy who has playoff experience in that lineup is Love. Well, he has a lot of it, but still, that's it.
LeVert, will have somebody, but he's been in and out as far as being but yeah, for the most part, collectively, they're lacking experience.
Yeah, they're very young. So I'd go Cleveland as well. I would just love to avoid facing some of like the top teams. Not avoid, but they say like, oh, let's lose this game. But if we could have the Celtics, Nets, Heat, Bucks face each other in some kind of way and just like cancel each other out, man, that'd be amazing. I think I'd probably love to play Cavs and probably Miami in the second round over the Bucks and Nets. But yeah.
The way it's going right now, if we can avoid the Nets in the first round, either the Nets or the Bucks or Miami or Boston, one of them won't be there in the second round.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and with the Heat, what's going on with them right now? I don't know. You've been around a lot of different locker rooms.
Just think about that though. So you do all of this playing, and everybody's like within 2 games from as far as Miami, the top 4 teams are all within 2 games. So that's Miami, us, and Boston, and who's the other team? Milwaukee. Okay, just think, one of those 4, they're fighting within 2 games, and one of them will have to play the Nets in the first round.
Yeah.
That's your reward.
Terrible. It's terrible. And because the whole Kyrie thing's gone.
And Kyrie will be playing home games.
Yeah, forget about that whole, because that was always a variable, but that's gone.
That's over.
And now they're saying Ben Simmons feels a little better.
If Ben happens to come, that's just, you can think whatever you want to think about Ben, but he is an all-star player. He's proven that, and he gives them a dimension that they don't have. So it only makes them better. Doesn't make them worse.
And with Ben's kind of game too, I feel like even if he doesn't play all season, he's got the kind of game where they're like, you know what? Don't do too much. Just come back and D up their best player. That's all you got to do in this first round. Just D up their best player.
He gives them a dimension they don't have. Like, they have bigger guys and athletic guys that can maybe go up multiple positions, but they don't have one that can grab the rebound and run the point.
Yeah.
So
And
now,
yeah.
So now you're saying Kyrie and KD can just run and go and catch and shoot? Man, come on now.
Yeah. I don't want to. I mean, if we could avoid that without like mini tanking, I'd
like
love
I
to.
said, they may lose in the first round. Nets may very well lose in the first round. But those top 4 teams that are fighting for that number 1 seed, the number 1 seed could very well play the Nets.
It's so tight too, because you have the Heat. I think then it's like a 1.5 game lead over the next 3, and the next 3 are almost like tied. They're right there with each other.
It's so tight that you can't chase a matchup.
No, you can't.
You just got to play.
And then the next, I think 5, 6, and 7 are within like a game of each other too. And then you have like a 2 or 3 game gap between them and the Nets at 8. So it's like, it's crazy, man.
The Nets could go on the run and get 6.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's going to be a fun. It's going to be a fun last 10 games.
The playoffs will officially start before the play-in game.
Oh yeah. And I'm really glad, by the way. I mean, obviously I want to go to the championship and win it, but I like that. I don't want to knock on wood. It's a lot healthier this year too. There were so many injuries around the playoff time last year. That was like the main variable in who went far and who didn't. But this year seems it's pretty healthy right now across the board in the East.
Yeah, I mean, the Bulls have some injuries. Key guys are playing, but they have some in the Nets. If, they can get some, Ben back for the most part, we'll have a playoff where you got to win it.
Yeah.
and the no COVID aspect as well. No more of the guys being out for COVID.
No bubble and no COVID and no injuries.
Yeah.
For the most part.
It'll be exciting.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. We'll say though, even though the New York City that mandate's done, if they do have to play Toronto in Toronto, though, he still can't play in Toronto. If they had to play in 7-8 games, so that there's still that, so that might come back to bite them too, though. And that would be kind of comical if that were to happen.
That's bad luck.
That's bad luck. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. And just a quick one on that, Eric. What were your thoughts on the Miami Heat? That little kind of spat between Spoelstra and Butler and Udonis Haslem.
It happens. No big deal to me. I think that stuff happens way more than you all realize. You just kind of see it when it gets caught on video, but those kind of things happen way more often than you.
Even between like coach and player, like talking about fucking fighting and stuff like that. Those kind of quotes.
It's usually not the head coach, but it's usually an assistant coach.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's pretty. I wouldn't say it's common, or like it happens all the time, but it happens more than you realize and you see. Guys come in and sometimes it's just not. People don't have to pull people back. But yeah, Spo was a little for him to go on the court, even like out of the timeout. That was pretty interesting.
He grabbed the clipboard just to throw it. He grabbed it and threw it.
So that was that was interesting. That was good to see. But the thing that I found the most interesting was that it was a coach and player after one player.
Yeah. Usually
it's just like a coach's or a player versus a player, but it's the coach and player against one guy. So I think it was maybe a situation and then something that was said to the individuals about the situation.
Mm-hmm. I guess Haslem's the closest you could get to being a player coach too, right?
Well, I mean, Haslem was also a guy that's, if I wanted to pick anybody on that team that's going to really fight, he would be the guy. Oh,
yeah, I'm not going to mess with Haslem. Absolutely not. The first thing I said when I saw it, I was like, yeah, do that with Haslem. Do that with him.
He probably wanted to let that one go right there.
I actually give him credit for being very, team friendly about it. He was like, they're your enemy. He was playing the good, leadership role. And then you see Butler say something that makes PJ Tucker's head whip back. And then Haslem started I'll beat your ass. Like,
Yeah.
let's get real now.
Yeah. Because
So-
it went from team stuff to personal.
Yeah. Butler must have said something a little too.
Basically, that's what happened. It went from team to personal.
Yeah.
So, all the other stuff, let's do this, let's fight them, not us, and all that. Yeah, all that rah-rah stuff. And so when his tone and words changed, I think,
Reaction, there's a reaction.
Yeah, that's probably when it should have ended,
Yeah. It's also funny too, because Butler's usually like the tough guy, but when he got tough with probably one of the toughest guys in the NBA.
That's the wrong one right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leave that one. Let that one go, Jimmy.
That was good stuff.